Hi, this is Patrick Driggett, bringing you BS of the Week. I'm the coach of the Berlin Fire, and I am joined by my friends.
Hi there, I'm Kevin I from the Glasgow Rushmores, and we have a special guest this week, which is...
Hi, I'm Conrad Whittingham, coach of the Venice Rivets, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, the very not well-known coach, Conrad Whittingham. Welcome. Thank you. We're always excited to have you on as a guest. I know people enjoy your thoughts and insights as a very winning coach. So we appreciate you being here and taking the time. I know you're very busy, so thank you for joining us.
Good stuff. No problem at all. Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's get right to it. Conrad, we just had our week 7 games a couple days ago, and I think you were going to talk about the results of the LFC.
Yes. Yeah. So going through the LFC games, first one from week 7, Phoenix against the Statesmen. And this was one of those where absolutely massive game. And Statesmen, if they couldn't pull this one out, they're pretty much struggling to kind of make the playoffs. But a really good win, 28-7. Home advantage helps. But I think as well, one of the things that came through on this one was not just home advantage, but Lee's a brilliant, really experienced coach. And the stances that he used worked so well to just stop that super powerful Phoenix run game. So he was doing lots of flexes on his defensive line and stacking his linebackers, even had some like run blitz, which I'm not even sure what it does, but it was all there. Everything was focused on stopping that run attack, and it just held it in check well enough. And it's that kind of thing that he was able to add that I think made a really big difference this week. So a brilliant win, and one, as we'll see on the playoff picture later, that he needed to get. Next was the Sun Devils v the Fire. Sorry, Patrick. So it's 23-20 to the Sun Devils. Close game. It looked on this one that it's one of those where someone who loves special teams, where special teams just really made the difference there with the blocked punt in the 26th minute, I think it was. And then that was then driven in on the next few plays, went in for a touchdown. And that kind of thing in such a close game, and there was, I think, just one missed kick all game, which was a Fire field goal, which would have, again, taken it to overtime. So it's those kind of things, which just so fine margins, but special teams actually won it for the Sun Devils. But unlucky, Patrick, you're doing close on that one.
Yeah, I lost a couple blockers to injuries this year, like some of my better people that had levels, unfortunately. But a good game to Sam. Honestly, I picked, well, I didn't do it in the pick 'em, but I definitely would have picked him to win, but I'm glad we held him close. That's good.
Yeah, no, it was a really good one, and it's just tricky now, isn't it, with the playoffs, because it's getting that wild card race is kind of starting to get a little bit too far ahead. Next, sorry, Kev as well. Rushmore's at the Hornets. It's 45-10. The Tripson show. Very much back on course this week, and I think he's still injured a bit, isn't he? But he still was 16 for 258. So it's just brutal. And I think he's one of those that shows that on offense, if you've got something that is just an area of the team that is just so strong, if the defense doesn't have the skills or the levels to counter his particular thing, he'll dominate. And there's nothing you can do. It didn't matter what stances you were doing. It didn't matter if you were dropping your linebackers past up short or whatever. It's that thing of, unless there's enough short zone strength there to combat him, then he was always going to kind of rip you apart. So I think that's one of those where you need a few seasons almost to build up a anti-short zone defense to be able to stop someone like Tripson. And unless you've got a massive middle linebacker and some tech safeties you can put out, it's someone like that, it's just damage limitation really, if you can. But he was on fire.
That's what I was trying to do.
yeah, exactly. It's that thing of it just, you need you need some beast levels there to be able to kind of knock back a Tripson. But
I want to congratulate Kev for not losing by 3 this week.
Yeah, thank you. It took a lot of game planning to actually make sure that I got well and truly thrashed.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, no, well, it can't be as bad next week. It's kind of everyone's easier than the Hornets. They're on fire at the moment. Next was Knights v the Rhinos, and the Rhinos 24-13, which was, well, a really good win against the spread. There was a quote on this from Richard, which I just love. He said, "This had the feeling of two bald men fighting over a comb," which is probably completely true, because the best, realistically, both teams can probably do is 5-5, which wouldn't make the playoffs anyhow. So it was one of those kind of matches where, unless they pull some real shockers towards the end of the season, get to 6 wins and sneak a wild card, then yeah, it probably was just fighting for honour really, and nothing much else. Next was an amazing result. It was the 66ers against the Patriots, and it was 54-25 to the Pats. And as lots of people have seen, in looking at the leaders for the week, wide receiver Drift with 14 catches for 503, which is just incredible. And the question now is kind of, is Oakwell like the LFC's Pogue almost, because he's now leading passer, which is incredible. The thing on this one, when you look at it, it's kind of the 66ers had loads of offense as well, but the difference was the Pats seemed to score touchdowns every single time, and the 66ers had 7 field goal attempts. And that's all it seemed. It was just that thing of the Pats managed to get the TDs and just blew it away. But actually, a few more of those field goals being converted into 7 points, and it would have been a really, really thrilling finish on that. But they couldn't quite punch it in. So congrats to definitely to the Patriots there on their defense. They did it kept them to them, and the offense did its stuff. They just blew it away. Brilliant performance. Interestingly, if he ever gets a normal running back, it'd be really interesting on that, because I know he's playing the tech running back at the moment, isn't it? But it's interesting if, like, with that crazy pass game, you think, crikey, if there was a decent level, normal, strong or quick back, it could be just unstoppable. Amazing. Next was massively the Sharks. Sharks won that 48-20. Yeah, it's one of those where, for the massive on defense, it was pick your poison, because it's either you try and stop rampant or you try and stop the deep pass game. And their stances look very much, they was trying to stop the deep pass game. So they put loads of pass rushing D-line, stuff like that. And then rampant run for about 250 at 10 on the carry. So it's one of those where it was a difficult one, because they managed to kind of try and focus on the pass game, but they just got ripped on the run. So the Sharks are really looking strong. Really good playoff run they should do this year. The next game, number 7, was the Bucks against the Irish, and 24-0 to the Irish. Fantastic defensive performance from the Irish on that. Just brilliant. And looking at the play-by-play, the Bucks continually, the yardages weren't much difference, and the Bucks kept on seeming to get stopped around the 35 to 40 yard line. It was really weird. It seemed every single drive would kind of get stopped there, just out of field goal range. So it was only near the end they finally got in the red zone, but time ran out on them. But a really strange game. It was as though they could move the ball a bit, but just could never keep the drives going long enough. But a brilliant defensive performance by the Irish on that. Absolutely fantastic. And the final game in the LFC, the Shadows against the Weasels, or the Super Weasels. So 30-3 to the Super Weasels. And this one is, well, Super Weasels now winning their division, great playoff shot. But it's one of those where, the Shadows obviously a weak team, caretaker coach. That's, completely understandable. They're pretty much going to get hammered each week. The thing that's unlucky for the Weasels is that whole thing of when you get further and further ahead for the pass game, it means your auto incomplete start getting really, really high. So he threw, Langston for 370 odd yards, but it's really hard to almost run up the score and build points difference if you're a big pass team, because that sort of elastic band effect really, really has an impact. Whereas the running teams will just come down from 6 to 5 a carry and still run quite a lot and run up the score. So, but it was domination by the Super Weasels, and puts them in a good position for a playoff run. And that's the LFC this week.
Awesome. Thanks, Conrad. Kev, how's the PFC looking?
Yeah, the PFC this week was pretty boring, to be quite honest. Nothing very much happened. there were a lot of games that I would call were regulation wins, as it were. But as we'll find out later on, the playoff situation is absolutely fascinating there. But I'll go through the list. Basically, we had the Bombers against the Surfers, 45-0 to the Bombers. Gary, if you're watching this is probably the last easy win you're going to get because your run-in looks absolutely diabolical. 28-0 up at halftime, and basically, 28-0 up at the end of the first quarter. And that's basically game over, unfortunately. The next game was far from boring, which was the Packers against the Titans. Oh my God, what a game this was. In fact, it was such a game that we're going to talk about a bit later on. I'm just going to keep teasing you a little bit today because we're also going to talk about the Surfers a little bit later on as well. Game after that, the Rough Riders against the Rapiers. Rapiers 34, Rough Riders 7. Again, could be put down as a regulation win, really, for Phil. Pete's Rough Riders, their offense never really got going. And to be quite honest, their defense just couldn't stop the Rapiers aerial game. Pretty comfortable win. Again, probably not too unexpected. Next one on my list is the Devils against the Warriors. Warriors 38, Devils 3. Again, another game that I would say was pretty much a regulation win. 28-0 at halftime. And again, Ambrose's offense ruled the skies, basically, with over 400 yards passing. And unfortunately, the Devils just really didn't have an answer to that. But again, a nice season that Ambrose is putting together. He's had a few sticky seasons, shall we say, and he's starting to put together quite a good squad in there. We've got another game here. The next one on the list is actually the Maroons against the Rivets. Maroons 24, Rivets 49. Now, as anyone that's watched this show will know, we love Scott. Scott is probably one of our favorite coaches here. But oh my God, Scott, what the hell were you doing? Scott, can we just remind you, you were playing the Rivets, okay? I don't think your team woke up. Okay, what I'm going to do with this game is I'm going to run through what happened in the first quarter. Okay, so basically what happened is the Rivets won the toss, decided to receive the ball. Okay, so straight from the kickoff, what do? They have a drive, just march down the pitch as if there's nobody there and score a touchdown. Okay, now as we all know, once you score a touchdown, you have to kick the ball to the opposition. So that's what they did. They kicked off. The Maroons received it, and one play later, they decided to fumble it. And what did the Rivets do? Well, they obviously converted that for a touchdown in that drive. Okay, so again, the ball was received by the at the kickoff, and guess what? They fumbled it again. Okay, as if you haven't learned your lesson, Scott. So they fumbled it again and again. The Rivets marched down the pitch and scored a touchdown. Okay, now the crowd were actually quite excited on the next kickoff return because they actually caught the bloody thing and held on to it. Unfortunately, they only held on to it for a 3-0, gave the ball back to the Rivets, who then marched down the pitch and scored another touchdown. And then there was another kickoff reception, and Scott decided he was going to change the thing now. He wasn't going to fumble the ball anymore. He was now going to throw for an interception. So his quarterback threw for an interception, which the Rivets caught, ran down the field and scored another touchdown. Okay, and we're not finished yet because at the next kickoff return drive, there was another fumble, followed by yet another Rivets touchdown. So at the end of the first quarter, the Rivets were 42. The Maroons were 0. Every one bar one of the touchdowns was caused by a fumble or an interception. Okay, so the game was obviously totally and utterly over. Now, the fascinating thing is, in the first quarter, the Maroons actually held the ball for a massive 2 minutes and 20 seconds, during which time they gave away 3 fumbles and 1 interception. I think that could actually be a record. So I think, Scott, much as we love you, mate, please next time look up and see who you're playing, and you don't give fumbles to the Rivets. They just say thank you very much and march all over you.
Yeah, I must admit, I've seen this. I've never seen a first quarter like it. We've had some random and some lucky ones where we've got turnovers and stuff, but it was just, yeah, 42 in the quarter. I just cannot ever remember that. It was just, yeah, just crazy. But interestingly, that one of the things that and comments that comes through a few times is like well, I won't tempt fate for our side because of injuries and stuff like that. But of course, games like that meant that your kind of the players just relax a lot easier and a lot earlier. So from the second quarter onwards, they were in a kind of like the relax mode setting in terms of injury. So they try and make all the plays longer and their injury chances go down. So anything like that kind of helps my aged, kind of hugely ancient veteran roster. It can actually cope because it's not getting quite as many injuries if we manage to get clear, because then everyone just rests during the latter parts of those games and then comes off in the Q4. So yeah, but poor old Scott. I felt when I was going through it, I was like, oh my gosh, he just
mind you, the one thing that I think he has is he is actually the only team that's actually beaten you in one half.
Oh,
because Scott won the second half 21-0.
Absolutely, yeah. But oh yeah, no.
Had he only just done that from the kickoff, it'd have been fine.
Yeah.
Okay, next game. Chargers against the Generals. Chargers 14, Generals 36. Here we had a solid rushing performance from Alex. And Chris, to be quite honest, had no answer at all for the running back Hooker, who rushed for 372 yards on 39 carries for 3 touchdowns. And really, he was the big difference between the two teams. Again, Generals, good defensive organization, as we would expect. And that was a very important win for Alex, as we will talk about a bit later on. Next game, Bulldogs against the Eagles. Bulldogs 9, Eagles 33. And really here what happened is Phil's Eagles just basically just showed their total dominance of the PFC South. A straightforward win, really, to be honest. Although Miranda's offense actually moved the ball for more yardage than the Eagles, and also they kept the ball for longer. So another one of these situations where Miranda's downfall really was that she gave 4 turnovers. And as we all know, turnovers can kill you, but especially she gave the turnovers at the wrong moments and therefore never really built any momentum in the game. However, what I would say is that, as you'll see later on, the season isn't finished for either of these two coaches, because they've still both got something to play for, as we'll discuss a bit later on. Next game on my list, and the final one on my list, is the Stormers against the Huskies. Stormers 31, Huskies 7. Huskies, obviously, as we all know, having a tough whole season, and Mark Stormers having a nice good season here. Again, another regulation win. Mark Stormers really controlled the clock with their running game, their rushing game. Running back Bear, 219 yards. And in my opinion, he should most definitely be the MVP of the game. They gave it to the quarterback, who, to be quite honest, it should have been Bear. Let's put it that way.
Yet another example of quarterback bias.
Yeah, another nice win for the Stormers. Puts them in a good position, which we'll talk about later on. So that's basically what happened in the PFC. Back to you, Patrick.
Well, yeah, awesome stuff. Thank you both for the analysis. We're week 8, only a couple games left before the playoffs. I think this is a great time for us to break down the playoff picture for each of the conferences. And Conrad, I think you were going to talk about the LFC now. Let us know what's going on there.
Indeed. So, thinking about the LFC playoff picture, you've got, looking at there's kind of like the top 8 listed or whatever on the website on there. The first 3, Giant Hornets, the Sharks, the Phoenix. what, 7-0, 6-1, 6-1. They're both a couple of games clear, at least in their divisions. So it's pretty much looking in the bag, barring absolute miracles. And as well, none of them have a particularly nasty schedule in the run-in. So if you add up the current wins of their opponents left, it's 9, 6, and 9, respectively. So they're kind of playing teams on average with a losing record over the last 3 weeks. So you'd expect them all to keep on going and end up 10-0, 9-1 type marks. What's interesting on them, though, is that the points differences are really close, particularly between the Giant Hornets and the Sharks. And the Phoenix are only about 30 odd behind the Sharks. So there's this balance is going to come in the last few weeks, surely, of how much do you rest, for example. If you get clear in that fourth quarter, do you put on your reserves to avoid injury? But if that then means your points difference gets hit and you miss out on number 1 or number 2 seed on points difference, you'd be absolutely gutted, because that bye week and that extra home advantage is brilliant. So going to be interesting to see how they all play it, but they're all in great positions, and none of them honestly have any serious injury worries themselves. I think the Hornets have an outside backer out, but the teams they play look mostly inside run. So yeah, that shouldn't really matter, and he should be mostly fit for the playoffs. So 1, 2, and 3, look, they may change a little bit, but pretty much in the bag. The exciting one actually is number 4, which is the Super Weasels, who are 4 and 3, being chased close behind by the Knights and the Rhinos, both at 3 and 4. But both the Knights and Rhinos have brilliant divisional records, and the Super Weasels don't. So it's likely to come down here to the week 9 matchup between the Super Weasels away at the Rhinos, because it's one of those where if they win that, it's pretty much that's it. They've won the division, because they should be it won't matter what happens week 10. They should be clear enough, and the Rhinos and Knights will have too much catching up. But if they lose that match to the Rhinos, all bets are off. And it's that thing of whether it be the Rhinos, whether it be the Knights, who could still come in because their points differences are incredibly close. But both of them would jump on divisional record, would jump the Super Weasels. So although they're looking great position at the moment, and they got the Sun Devils next week, and they'd hope to pull that off, it's going to come down to that week 9, surely, on that. And if they don't win that, week 10 away at the Hornets, it's probably no chance. So yeah, they really need that week 9 is going to be key.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing for all the rest of the teams in that division is I don't think any of their records are really strong enough. I don't think they're pulling for that wild card spot. So it's like you either get in from the division, or you're probably, I mean, there's a chance. There's a chance still, but it's not looking good that you'd go in, after that.
Absolutely right. Because the wild cards, let's face it, there's some good the Statesmen, who are on a bit of a roll now, and are surely, like, they're playing 3, 3, and 4 3-win teams, 4 lost teams for the remainder of the season, and they've got a great chance of getting to 7 and 3 and getting a wild card. They're really hitting it and could be peaking at the right time. So again, very fit, no major injuries. They're all looking very good. As for who comes next on the wild card, because the Bucks currently number 6 seed, but they're away at the Phoenix in week 10, which is a really tough one. So they're going to have to beat the Pats, who have gone wild with their past games. So we'll see what happens on that. And then the massive week 9, which is no gimme, because they're kind of like inside running, and the Bucks have lost their big DT at the moment. So they're a little bit suspect on that. So they could end up probably, you'd say 6 and 4 is their most likely, but not necessarily. The 66ers then, who are currently 4 and 3, they've got probably the easiest run-in out of all of those teams at the bottom of the 5, 6, 7, 8 ranking. So they play 2, 3.
Thank you, Conrad.
In Irish and Knights. And I'm sorry, Kev, they play you as the naught win in the middle. But of course, you might be going for that kind of first win incentive, in which case that one could turn into a real banana skin one for them. But they've definitely got the potential to win out on that schedule. Or, yeah, they could lose all 3. It's that kind of thing. But they're in with a fighting chance. I think the one at the bottom, the Irish, with 3 and 4, who are the 8th seed currently, that's really tricky, because they've got the 66ers, 4 wins, the Statesmen week 10, who are going to be on a roll, and then in the middle, away at the Sharks. So the chances of them kind of pulling it around to 6 and 4 and squeezing a wild card are really, really slim. So it's looking at the moment, top 3 divisions: Phoenix, Sharks, Giant Hornets. That setting's pretty much done, dusted. Super Weasels, good chance, but the Rhinos in particular could jump them. And who knows, if the Rhinos beat them, then the Knights could also. It all gets really messy. Wildcard, Statesman looking really good, but the other wildcard is really up for grabs because the Bucks, with their injuries, are by no means assured of keeping in that number 6 spot.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Conrad. Really appreciate that analysis. And
Patrick, can we take a note? Can we take a note that when Conrad makes fun of my team, he's not invited back? We're just
that's half of our material, Kev. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's for false sense of security. I'm just putting everyone into.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. So Conrad, I really appreciate that breakdown. Kev, I think you were going to do the similar thing for the PFC.
Yeah. Yep. So playoff picture in the PFC, pretty similar to what Conrad described in the LFC there. You've almost got, I mean, obviously seeds 1 and 2 are pretty much sorted. Next week's game will sort out which order they go in because the Rivets actually play the Packers, to my memory. And I reckon that one team will go 10-0 and the other one will go 9-1. Now, obviously, Conrad hopes that it is his team that stays 10-0. Conrad's got a bit of a problem in as much as he has such a long unbeaten record that he really cannot afford to take his foot off the gas. Now, whether the Packers decide to basically just rest all their players and let Conrad put all his players out, get injured, I don't know, because the Packers are through anyway. So you've got seeds 1 and 2. It will be a good game, that, because I'm sure that the Packers will go for it. Obviously, they've got an excellent opportunity to do so. You have to fancy the Eagles for the PFC South as being the third seed, because basically they're 2 games up with only 3 to go. And also with those 2 games, they should win at least 1 or maybe even 2 more. So I would say that similar to the LFC, you've got the top 3 all sorted in the PFC. The one division which is, again, somewhat fascinating is the PFC East, where you've got the Generals are 1 up on the Rapiers. But guess what, folks? They play each other in week 9. So that could be very, very interesting. However, I think probably one of the most important games for the Generals is this week's game against the Bulldogs. On paper, they should win that. However, if they slip up on that banana skin and the Rapiers beat them on their week 9 game, then the Generals are in real danger of not actually going to the playoffs at all. So they really need to sort of win that game and make sure that they beat the Miranda's Bulldogs first of all, before they take on the Rapiers. Basically, the winners of that division will obviously go through, but I think the runners-up aren't necessarily guaranteed to actually get a wild card place either. Because if we look at the wild card situation, top of the list at the moment are the Surfers with 6-1. And you'd think 6-1, they probably only need 1 more win. Having said that, if you look at their schedule, they play the Stormers next. And the Stormers are in the playoff position because they're 5-2. So that is going to be one heck of a crunch game. Once they've had the fun of playing the Stormers, they then take on the Rivets. And then just to finish off their season, they then have a go with the Eagles. So really, Gary's team has not got an easy run in any way, shape or form. They're looking to get 1 more win. And I'm sure they're hoping it comes this week to ease the worries against the Stormers. Stormers and the Surfers have a plus 99 points difference, which is quite good. The Stormers plus 75 points difference. They're currently sitting 5-2. and they play us at the Surfers, then the Packers, and then they have the Chargers as their last game. So again, that one could go to the wire. To try and get 7 wins from those 3 games, or two out of 3 basically, could be tough. And then the one that's not even on the playoff list is the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are sitting at the moment 4-3, but, and it's a big but, if they win against the Generals, their next 2 games are the Devils, and they end the season against the Bombers. So you'd have to fancy that they're going to get at least 6 wins, and it's all going to be down to the Generals Bulldogs game this week. So I really would not like to say who's going to go in there. Obviously, Gary Surfers are in pole position, but they do most definitely have to beat the Stormers. And to be quite honest, if they beat the Stormers, that could well put the Stormers out of the playoff picture. So you've got about 3 or 4 teams there, because also you've got the Rapiers and the Generals, whoever doesn't win that division, because the Rapiers are currently sitting on 4-3, and they play the Devils, and then they play the Generals, and then their last game is against the Titans. So that could be one heck of a game as well. So in the PFC, you've got the top 3 all sorted. And to be quite honest, the rest is still all to play for. We'll have a much clearer picture after the Generals have played the Bulldogs, and we'll have a much clearer picture after the Surfers have played the Stormers, and that happens this week. We'll obviously have a much clearer picture as to who's number 1 seed after Conrad's played the Packers. So basically, a lot going on this week, a real big week, and still everything to play for quite a few teams there. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 teams still in the mix for the playoffs. So it's been a good season this season. So watch this space as we report on it in the next couple of weeks. Conrad, what are your thoughts on it, on the PFC?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just crazy because it's that thing of the teams with the best records have really tough schedules in this last bit, and so you could easily have some stuff going all over the place. So yeah, and Newcastle Eagles are a weird one as well, because that 6-0-1, if they do keep winning, again, whichever Rivets or Packers this week lose, suddenly could easily find yourself without even a bye week, despite having had what so far has been a brilliant season. And that then really, that gives a really different outlook for the playoffs.
That's a very exciting playoff picture. So thank you all for talking through those. That's great. So now I think talk about the game of the week real quick. Kev kind of alluded to it a little bit there. Packers Titans. James Allen had the Titans up all game, 3 quarters, solid football. And then Tom Watt has a sideline chat with everybody between quarters and rallies the squad. They go back and forth, couple score changes, and ultimately they pull it out. The Packers pull it out despite the odds. The fourth quarter they rally. What the Titans did to make that game competitive is that they put the pressure on, right? They got fumbles, they got interceptions. I think there were 6 turnovers altogether against the Packers lost six turnovers. And that really kept the Titans in the game. I don't know that it would have been as close, to be quite honest. Like, I think the Packers are a strong squad, but Titans definitely made it a game because of those turnovers. But then again, the strength of the Packers squad brought them back in the fourth. It just wasn't enough. But that had to have been frustrating. If I was James, I would have been over the moon at what was happening in that game. And then to watch that fourth quarter fall apart probably was a bit exhausting, but that did make it the game of the week. It was a really exciting game to watch and read if you're into that. I highly recommend it. So any other thoughts on the game of the week there?
Yeah, there were a couple of things. I mean, there were a few missed field goals. So the Packers could have, they missed a 25-yard field goal, which would have made one heck of a difference. Both teams went for 2-point conversions and failed. So it was a sort of fascinating game, as you say. Most definitely the game of the week. Could have gone either way. I think the Packers probably on the face of it should have sewn it up and won it a lot earlier. But they didn't, and that's because the Titans just doggedly refused to lie down and go, no, we're not beaten yet, But a great game.
Yeah. So that's our game of the week, Packers Titans. Congratulations to those coaches. It's always hard to be on the losing end, but definitely, it's a battle. If you made it onto the game of the week, you probably played hard. So we don't put shutouts here. Unless it's like a 3-0 game or something, bad. But no, it was a great game. So now, Conrad, we haven't had you on since we started asking questions of our guests. So we prepared some questions for you, if that's okay.
No problem at all. Excellent.
All right. So, first of all, you're a legend. I don't know you'd call yourself a legend, but I think many people would imagine that you're a legend. And you have a lot of respect from people all around the league. We joke about the coaches Whittingham, and you all obviously have a legacy here. It really seems like, based off that history, that you have a winning formula. You really understand something about the game there, and you have a way to win. How do you stay fresh and interested in the Rivets, given all of that? And do you feel like you'll be on the Rivets long term because of that, or are there like greener pastures somewhere else, that might reintroduce the challenge?
Well, I think just generally, I think one of the fun things to do is, if you can make something work in, say, one style of play, is to then try different styles. So over the years, there's been like I formation, massive run, short pass, I formation, big run, long pass. I've used the ace short pass at different times, ace long pass, so loads of different stuff. And that's fun when you're kind of trying to build really different offenses. I'm probably less creative on defense, but in terms of like the general formations. But it's fun kind of doing different things on offense a little bit. But at the moment with the Rivets, the really real thing, of course, drive is the winning streak, because it's I never ever would have thought it would have kind of gone like it has and kept going as long as it has. And looked up, we've now become is number 3, so we're one game behind the T-Birds of the Continental, who made 58 in season 29 to 34, and then the Steelers in the GFL back all the way, and it was season 4 they started theirs, did 61.
Wow.
Which is absolutely phenomenal. But both of those, they didn't win the bowls along the way, but regular season streaks were there. So that's the ultimate target and dream, is to kind of somehow keep it going this season and then win a couple of weeks at the start of next to kind of beat that 61. And that would be mind-blowing. But it's that thing of that's the ultimate goal. And that's why the team keeps getting older and older. It's that thing of, I never again would have thought I'd keep trying to keep it going to this degree. And even on the mid-season aging, when I add up how many levels we're likely to lose across the starters, it is quite frightening, because it is that thing of, with an average age of 6 and a bit for a starter, even middle roles are going to lose 2 or 3 levels. Mm-hmm. So loads of, and if a player rolls an E, they're probably going to get wiped out. They'll lose 5, 6 levels, and the older ones will lose 7 levels if they're like the real vets in there. So it's those kind of things where a lot of luck will be needed to kind of keep us to be able to do something next season as well. But that's the real challenge at the moment. And it has been this last couple of seasons, has been, whoa, we're on this streak. Let's try and see if we can just create some real history on that. So we've mortgaged the future a bit, but it's been worth it so far to kind of keep that going.
That's awesome. Thank you. So on that note, who do you predict will be the first team to beat the Rivets?
I think, interestingly, although it kind of was 2 weeks ago is quite one-sided, it will be an away match against one of the challengers who is injury-free. So like poor old Gary with his servers, with their star running back, and thinking, okay, we're like 27th odd in run defense. We're not quite that bad because we give up a few yards near the end of the game. That's quite a few times, but we are a little bit suspect. And he was obviously really looking forward to that one. He kind of key gamed it and stuff, and he was all ready. And I think it's something crazy. Like, is it 6 round 1 picks in the next draft as well? So it's not as though their roster is going to start weakening anytime soon, but it's that thing of, I think the only thing that will stop him maybe beating us is short term, is that he'll need to bring up those players. And so he'll need to spend coaching on them, whereas I'll just coach an age 7 guy. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a difference. This week against the Packers, they're the other, let's face it, big one. They're unbeaten. Again, we're away from home. So them having that home advantage, the extra on the run game, the less auto techniques, all that kind of stuff is a big help. It's just a massive help. So that's going to be, I've no idea how that will go. And again, we're quite lucky in a way because his main running back's a little bit hobbled. He's going to be fine to play, but he's a little bit hobbled, so it takes the top levels off him. But yeah, I'd expect that to be a really tough one, just because they're unbeaten, looking very good, and we're away from home. At home at the moment, we're really, really, really tough to beat.
Yeah.
So I think it will be an away game against someone like the Packers next week. I think if we beat them and get number 1 seed, then it would take a mammoth effort for someone to beat us in the playoffs until, you know what I mean? Because we'd have home advantage. So then it would be a real brilliant effort by any other team. And I can see maybe the Eagles, who knows, because they're so unpredictable. I have no idea, caretaker coach, no idea what the kind of like they're doing behind the scenes. So you just never know. But I think this week we're vulnerable and the Packers are always good. But going forward and next year, maybe, we'll see what aging does. It could be we could get hammered by loads of people. It just depends kind of how much luck of the roles we have.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, I'm sure everyone that will probably have the most comments in game history, I have to imagine, whatever that game is.
Yeah.
So I'm not particularly rooting for it. I mean, I'm excited to watch you. Whenever it happens, it happens. But I think it will be crazy times when that happens.
Yeah, definitely. So. There'll be a lot of excitement when it does. So that's brilliant. No,
so my favorite question, last question, R&R, they reach out and they said, we need you to generate the draft this year, please. So if you can make that draft class, also we're going to award you the first pick of the draft as a result of doing this work for us. Who's the player that you're picking first overall?
Really interesting on this. I think there were thoughts. I was thinking, okay, maybe offense, you could have like a stud running back, maybe an outside running back who gets the huge levels, or a wide receiver who can then catch 2,000 yards or whatever. And then on defense, maybe a massive nose tackle who can just plug the middle and stop an inside run game. But I think if could choose anything, it would be a middle linebacker, kind of like level 9, 80 tech, elite. And for the attributes, I'd have home streak 2, resilient, and tireless. And the home streak 2 means if you make the playoffs, he's playing 3 levels above whatever his elite was. And because there's that thing, isn't there, where if he's a middle linebacker against any runs, if he's just in a normal stance, his level scaled up is compared against the running back.
Yeah.
So if he's like level on 20 anyhow, then he's single-handedly, even if your run defense strengths aren't as good, he will make up for it. So he'll be able to stop the run, and he single-handedly will probably slow down even someone like Tripson. Do you know what I mean? Because he'll create so much short zone defense just by himself that he'd be remarkable on that. So I think that would do it. The other ones on it, resilience I really love that. It's one of those where if you're losing, isn't it? Then if he's the tackler, it knocks loads more yards off every time. So if you're chasing the game, that's good. And tireless, if you're like my team with guys who are just about to draw their pensions, then tireless is just priceless, because without it, towards the fourth quarter, you just fall off a cliff. And there was one, it was actually a number of years ago in the GFL, it was a bowl game, and it was before that all the latest kind of they actually, I think, they realized it was fourth quarter. I was having inside runs that were going for like -9, -10 yards because the line was so fatigued and there wasn't actually a cap in the game at that point on that. And so it was first down, it was like a -8 yard run, second down minus thing. And then my quarterback would then throw something crazy on third down. But it's that thing of if you've got a few players with tireless, it stops those really big age effects kind of coming in. So I kind of think that's a really good one. So it would be home streak 2, resilient and tireless.
Awesome. I like it. I'll trade you for your
first amazing. Oh my
gosh. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions and being here. As always, Kev, wonderful to have you. Thank you both for your analysis. I think this might be our longest episode ever, so that'll be fun. So we'll get that uploaded. We have to get all the hamsters pushing the bits through the internet so that we can get this thing uploaded. But thank you so much for visiting and answering those questions. And we appreciate you all and hope you have an awesome week.
Brilliant. Thanks, Conrad. Good night, guys. Good night,
cheers. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Stop.